The United States recently updated their application policy for non-immigrant visa applications from China. The new policy, which goes into effect in March, promises better customer service and lower costs. Starting next month, Chinese applicants will pay a standard processing fee of $160 for a non-immigrant visa for the United States. Now, unlike the current policy, no additional fees will be charged for scheduling visa interview appointments or returning applicants' passports. Now, using the embassy's hotline to make appointments or ask questions will also be free. Paying for the application will also be made easier. Applicants currently have to pay the visa processing fee in cash at China CITIC Bank branches. Now, under the new policy, payments can also be made online or at designated automated teller machines. Since the U.S. and China agreed to allow for more tourism between the two countries in 2007, Chinese tourists have been streaming into the U.S. Now, of course, Weibo users had much to say about the new visa policies. Not surprisingly, most of these comments were highly positive. Now, here's a selection of what those comments were.
This is great news. The visa process has been simplified. Unnecessary hassles have been removed. Great! I think the next step will be to extend the period of validity for the visa. Now, this is an attitude of fairness and openness I want to see more of. Well, I certainly welcome this transition to simpler, more convenient services.
According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, less than a decade ago, the U.S. received roughly 150,000 Chinese visitors per year. Now, nearly that many visitors visit the U.S. each month. In 2011, 1.1 million Chinese tourists traveled to the U.S. And as China's economy continues to grow and China's middle class continues to expand, the market for Chinese tourists in the U.S. is expected to grow and to grow fast. The U.S. Department of Commerce predicts that by 2017, the number of Chinese tourists to the U.S. will grow by more than 300% from 2011 to reach 4 million people. Now, this is exciting news for the U.S. tourism industry because Chinese visitors represent some of the biggest spenders of any country in the world. California's Division of Tourism reported Chinese visitors spent on average $179 per day and as much as $1,897 per trip in 2011. Now, the average expenditure for all overseas visitors to California is $1,300 per trip. Now, Weibo users were quick to point out that the new visa changes only applied to non-immigration visas. More than a few complain that the new policies are a blatant effort to attract Chinese money overseas. Let's take a look at some of their comments.
It's now cheaper and easier to obtain a travel visa to the United States. But how come they have not dropped the costs of obtaining an immigration visa? Chinese people are becoming richer. Their wallets are growing fatter. The new visa policies allow Chinese tourists to contribute to the United States GDP. The new policy makes it easier for Chinese consumers to travel to the U.S. It's an effective way of revitalizing the United States economy after the financial crisis. The U.S. always knows how to appeal to the elites and the rich, and that's the reason it is the greatest power in the world. The visa application process has definitely become more convenient than before. I hope that more relaxed immigration policies will follow suit.
According to statistics from the U.S. Department of Commerce, more than 650,000 Chinese tourists visited the U.S. in the first half of 2012, marking a year-on-year increase of nearly 50%. In 2012, the U.S. Embassy in China processed more than 1.3 million non-immigrant visa applications, an almost 80% increase from 2011. China currently ranks 9th on the list of countries whose citizens visited the U.S. in 2011. Canada and Mexico topped the list, while Brazil, South Korea, Japan, the UK, France, and Germany also made the top 10.